Good morning, America. President Trump faces a possible government shutdown and takes another run at health care reform as he closes in on his first 100 days.
No administration has accomplished more in the first 90 days.
Our new poll this morning shows fewer than half of Americans approve of the job he's doing, but his supporters standing firm by his side as he starts a critical week of his presidency.
On alert, tensions at a boiling point with North Korea. Overnight, President Trump calling allies in the region as North Korea detains a U.S. citizen and threatens to sink an American aircraft carrier. UN Ambassador Nikki Haley is here ahead of her high-stakes meeting with the president.
Terrifying close call, frightening dash cam video showing a 4-year-old falling out of the back of a moving bus. Dropping onto a highway, a hero off-duty firefighter racing to her rescue. The young girl now recovering. How did this happen?
And the greatest. U.S. astronaut Peggy Whitson breaking a huge record just hours ago, spending the longest amount of time in space of any American.
We need to do more to be one Earth, one people.
The president calling to congratulate her this morning, what her giant accomplishment could mean for all of us.
Live in Times Square, this is GMA with Robin Roberts, George Stephanopoulos, and Michael Strahan.
Good morning, America. Hope you had a good weekend. What a happy Monday for Peggy Whitson.
She should be very happy. Look at this message of NASA congratulating her for breaking the record this morning at 1:27 a.m. Eastern. A very happy Peggy right there. Congrats.
And rightfully so. We're following a lot of stories this morning. It's a milestone week, as we've been saying, for President Trump as he closes in on 100 days in office. He's making a new push on health care reform and preparing to unveil his tax cut plan. This morning, we will meet with the UN Security Council as tensions escalate with North Korea. And former President Barack Obama is speaking for the first time in public since he left office. He'll be doing that in his hometown of Chicago.
That 100-day march is 5 days away right now. And we have a brand new ABC poll with the Washington Post that shows the President Trump is in a deep hole with the public. Only 42% of Americans approve the job he's doing, 53% disapprove. He's the only president in modern times with numbers that low this early in the term. But the poll also shows no buyer's remorse from his supporters. Our chief White House correspondent John Carl starts us off with the details. Good morning, John.
Good morning, George. President Trump's supporters are as happy with him as they have ever been. As he approaches his 100th day in office, a candid admission from President Trump. Achieving success in government is more complicated than it is in business. Everything, pretty much everything you do in government involves heart, the president told the Associated Press. Whereas in business, most things don't involve heart. In fact, in business, you're actually better off without it.
No administration has accomplished more in the first 90 days.
President Trump certainly has shaken up Washington, but he's fallen short of the standards he set for himself during the campaign. In October, he offered a contract with the American voter.
What follows is my 100-day action plan to make America great again.
He promised legislation on 10 major campaign promises within 100 days, but he has moved forward with only one of those bills so far, the plan to repeal and replace Obamacare, and that, of course, still hasn't passed. The White House is now offering other measures of success, touting minor bills that have passed and executive orders.
We've signed more legislation into law in the first 100 days than anybody in the last 50 years. We've put out more executive orders than any previous administration in the last 50 years.
In the new ABC News Washington Post poll, 56% of Americans say President Trump hasn't accomplished much so far. And he faces other challenges. A majority say he lacks the judgment and temperament to serve effectively, and 6 out of 10 doubt his honesty and trustworthiness. But Trump's supporters are still fully on board. 96% of those who voted for Trump in November say they have no regrets. They'd vote for him again. And the poll has troubling signs for Democrats. More Americans, 67%, say the Democratic Party is out of touch and say the same of either Trump or the Republican Party. The White House plans, the president plans to sign at least 4 more executive orders this week on energy, veterans affairs, the use of federal lands. George, by Friday, the president will have signed 30 executive orders. That is more executive orders than any president during the first 100 days since World War II.
And John, let's stick with that poll for a second. You pointed out a lot of the challenges for President Trump in the poll, some of the warning signs for Democrats as well. And one of the biggest warning signs for Democrats, this surprising result if you reran the election today.
Yeah, this is very interesting. If the election were rerun today with those who voted in 2016, Donald Trump would beat Hillary Clinton, and George, it's 43-40. That means he would beat her in the popular vote, which of course he didn't do in the real election.
That would be a real flip, John Carl. Thanks very much.
All right, George. Now to the showdown over a possible government shutdown. Republicans and Democrats try and strike a deal on the federal budget before Friday's deadline. Our congressional correspondent, Mary Bruce, is on Capitol Hill for us, has all those details. Good morning, Mary.
Good morning, Robin. Well, if Congress can't strike a deal by midnight Friday, the president could be celebrating his 100th day with a government shutdown. Now, the White House is hoping to avoid that, but the president is also driving a hard bargain, insisting on money to fund his border wall. But that, of course, is a non-starter for Democrats. Now, despite the vast differences between the two parties, both say a shutdown is unlikely this week. Instead, you're more likely to see a short-term spending bill that'll give them more time to negotiate.
And it's expected that the president will also try to revive health care reform. Is that going to happen this very busy week?
Yeah, as if the to-do list this week isn't daunting enough, the White House is now making another push to try and get a deal on health care, and notch a key victory for the president. Now, there is a new compromise that's in the works, but it's unclear if it has enough support to avoid those pitfalls of the first failed attempt. But the House Speaker, Paul Ryan, has made clear unless a bill has enough support to pass, there will be no vote. Robin.
He has made that clear. All right, Mary, thank you.
That might get delayed for a week or two. We're going to move on now to the escalating tensions with North Korea. Overnight, President Trump spoke to the leaders of both China and Japan about the nuclear threat as North Korea let loose with a new warning threatening to sink an American aircraft carrier, also arresting a third U.S. citizen. ABC's Bob Woodruff is tracking it all from Seoul, South Korea. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning, George. Yeah, this morning, President Donald Trump again speaking with his Chinese counterpart, President Xi Jinping, regarding the stability of the Korean region. The Chinese president expressing his desire to achieve denuclearization through peaceful talks. Tensions between the U.S. and North Korean government are at an all-time high, with the USS Carl Vinson now off the coast of the Philippines, a stop on its way north toward the Korean peninsula, and the U.S.-South Korean joint operation known as Max Thunder at Kunsan Air Base, 150 miles south of Seoul. Just this morning, North Korea gave a warning. America must get out of South Korea before we start a war against America, the news presenter said, adding that U.S. operations are playing with fire. What she did not mention is North Korea's newest prisoner, 58-year-old American Tony Kim, arrested Saturday at Pyongyang's airport, joining two other Americans still in jail. Now, tomorrow marks the 85th anniversary of North Korea's military, leading to concerns that they might celebrate that occasion with a new test of their nuclear capability. George?
Everyone on edge there. Bob Woodruff, thanks very much.
And George, the United States is also closely watching what's going on over there in France. As the election there, protests are erupting overnight, voters rejecting their country's major political parties. It's in a race that could reshape Europe and have major implications back here in the U.S. ABC's Alex Marquardt is in Paris with that story for us. Good morning, Alex.
Good morning, Robin. That's right. This is a major test, not just for France, but for Europe. And really the brand of populism that President Trump rode into office. This was a loud rejection of politics as usual. Here you have two candidates, both outsiders, neither from mainstream political parties, with wildly opposing views. On the one hand, Emmanuel Macron, just 39 years old. He's been compared to President Barack Obama because he's had this pro-Europe message. Full of hope and optimism. In fact, President Obama called him just a few days before the election. On the other hand, you have Marine Le Pen, the far-right candidate who's been compared to President Donald Trump, vowing to crack down on illegal immigration, sending a strong anti-Islamic message, including banning the Muslim headscarf here in the streets of France. Now, the European markets have reacted favorably, opening up across the board, an indication that they think Macron is going to win. There is a saying here in France that in the first round you vote with your heart, in the second you vote with your head. So there's a belief that many now will rally around Macron to defeat Le Pen in the final round. Robin?
And we'll find out in 2 weeks. All right, Alex, thank you. George?
Okay, Robin, thanks. Let's talk more about this now with one of America's top diplomats, UN Ambassador Nikki Haley. Ambassador Haley, thank you for joining us this morning.
Good morning, George. It's great to be with you.
Let's start out with that French election. President Trump has been tweeting about it, calling it very interesting. It's probably one of the most consequential French elections of our lifetime. Marine Le Pen wants to pull back from NATO and Europe. Macron wants to embrace those institutions. What's at stake for the U.S.?
You know, I think that we're going to deal with whoever is selected as president. But what I can tell you is it shows that there's changing times in every country. And these elections now mean more than they ever have. But what we have said is whoever the president is, we know that France will continue to be an ally. We'll continue to work with them. And we look forward to seeing the results.
Even if they pull out of NATO?
I think that every country has to make their own decisions. And, you know, what you campaign on and what you actually do is something that's totally different. And the people of France will speak. And I think at the end of the day, that answer will come through and we'll deal with them as we need to.
Let's talk about North Korea. Over the weekend, we learned the American professor Tony Kim has been detained. Any idea why he was arrested or whether he'll be released?
I think that North Korea has been playing games from the very beginning. I mean, what we're seeing is that Kim Jong-un is trying to really show his strength to the people of North Korea, whether it's just with all of these threats or what he's trying to do in terms of talking in terms of trying to start a war. And what we've said is we don't want war, so don't start one. And I think that just by detaining a prisoner is one more way that he's trying to show his strength, and it's not going to work.
Do you think any one of those 3 American prisoners right now are in danger?
Well, I mean, our focus is to get them out. That's the goal. And, you know, you never like having many of your citizens that are detained. And hopefully we'll work with China and see if we can get them released.
President Trump did speak with the president of China, President Xi, overnight. And China urged restraint in this North Korean situation. Is the United States prepared to explore exit ramps from this crisis? For example, China has asked the U.S. to consider suspending military exercises with South Korea if North Korea agrees to suspend nuclear and missile tests. Is that an acceptable trade-off?
We're not going to do that. I mean, THAAD is too important at this point. What we can say is South Korea has been an ally from the very beginning. We want to protect them just as we're protecting ourselves, and that's what we said we were going to do, is we were going to have the backs of our allies, and we were going to call out our adversaries. And now North Korea has done nothing but give every reason why we need to have military exercises in South Korea. And I think that while we've worked well with China, I think we saw a unanimous Security Council release last week condemning North Korea on what they're trying to do with their testing and launches. And what we're saying is, look, we're not backing down from South Korea, and North Korea just needs to get in line. And I think China's been great at helping us do that.
Any way to de-escalate now?
I think, you know, really the power has been through China. They have shown genuine concern. I think that they are trying to put the pressure on North Korea, and I think it's working. And I think a lot of the rhetoric that you're seeing come out of North Korea is just more of them trying to get the confidence of their citizens, but they're not getting the confidence of people around the world.
You know, you were talking about the French elections. You said people campaign in one way and govern in another. As the president approached the end of his first 100 days, he's modified many of his campaign positions, particularly in the area of foreign policy and national security. Doesn't think NATO's obsolete anymore. He's been very tough on the UN, but today he's with you hosting the ambassadors from the Security Council at the White House, taking a much harder line on Russia, softer line on China. Do you think the weight of the office is changing how he sees the world?
I think it's changing with the times. I mean, the times that we're dealing with right now, we are seeing some aggression from some bad actors. We're seeing the need for strength with our allies, and we're seeing the need that we have to show force when we have to show force. And I think what we've seen the president do is say that he's not afraid to make a decision, he's not afraid to act, and he's going to change with the circumstances. And that's exactly what we want to see in a leader.
On the United Nations, he's proposed major cuts in U.S. funding for the UN, dismissed it on Twitter as a club for people to talk and get together and have a good time. You think those ambassadors today will change his view on that?
He is right when we say that there's too much fat at the UN. And I think it's great that the Security Council members are going to have time with the president today. I think it's great that they're going to see General McMaster and hear our views and hear where we stand, because these are people that make a lot of important decisions, and we need to make sure that they're on our side.
Ambassador Haley, thanks for your time this morning.
Thanks so much, George.
Big day for the ambassador at the White House.
Absolutely. And now we're going to turn to that Tennessee kidnapping case. Tad Cummings is set to appear in court this morning, where he's facing charges for abducting a 15-year-old student. And ABC's Eva Pilgrim joins us now from Nashville, Tennessee. Good morning, Eva.
Good morning, Michael. Cummings is due in federal court for his arraignment this morning. Elizabeth Thomas may be back in Tennessee, but her family telling us she isn't home yet.
It's just amazing to finally get to see her.
Anthony Thomas relieved to have his daughter back. 15-year-old Elizabeth missing for over a month. Her former teacher, 50-year-old Tad Cummins, in FBI custody, facing federal charges for kidnapping the teen.
Sometimes she'll be happy and laughing and back to the same old girl, and then she'll be sometimes just in a fetal position crying. It's been a roller coaster for her.
Now, new details about how the teen spent those final days with Cummins at this remote cabin.
What did she look like?
She had lost some weight for sure. He had not been feeding her. She said they were eating flowers and things.
Food I gave him.
The caretaker giving us a tour inside. Leftover food sitting on bare floors, along with camping gear, toilet paper, and very little else. The family's attorney now helping coordinate her transition.
It looks like she's 11 or 12. It's important for people to understand that this is not a young woman even.
Getting her back, her father says, is just the first step in a long journey ahead.
She's going to actually need trauma therapy.
To see her struggling with all of this now as a dad.
It's very hurtful. And I'm sure as it goes along, we're going to find out more and more things that have been done to her. And it's very heartbreaking.
And the family has been advised by counselors not to ask Elizabeth about what happened. They say at this point they are focused on keeping her healthy and helping her move forward. Michael.
All right, thank you, Eva. Now, Amy has the morning's other top stories, starting with breaking news from New Orleans.
That's right, that news breaking overnight. New Orleans has started taking down Confederate monuments after a heated legal battle. The first of 4 memorials was removed overnight amid death threats for workers removing them. Other statues, including one of Robert E. Lee, will be torn down later. Supporters say these statues are historic. Opponents call them symbols of racism. Well, today, former President Obama marks his first major public appearance since leaving office. He will be in Chicago to deliver a speech at the University of Chicago, where his library will be. Today's speech is expected to focus on encouraging young leaders. Ousted Fox News host Bill O'Reilly returns to the air today in a podcast available on his website. It is the first time he will be speaking publicly since he was let go last week amid a sexual harassment scandal. And finally, McDonald's is rolling out new uniforms for employees, and some people, well, they aren't loving it. Check out the monochrome look, dark gray polos and T-shirts under long gray aprons. Some people on Twitter wondering if Hunger Games was the inspiration. Another critic, this one's my favorite, tweeted, "It looks like the Empire won. Now when you want to get a meal there, you'll have to start with your first order." But
I actually know the designer. I was with him this weekend for something, Boswell out of LA. He used to work at McDonald's. And if you've been to McDonald's recently, they're changing the whole...
Very modern.
Yeah.
I thought it was
I like
Star
ordering
Trek
it on the
aesthetic.
touchscreens. It's very fun.
Pardon?
You order on the touchscreens now.
I know, no, actually, table
very
as
cool.
well. So I hear it. I don't.
You two were so into that.
I was going to say I'm learning a lot here.
I actually didn't realize
I love my McNuggets, baby.
I
Big
love
breakfast?
McDonald's.
Yes. We got to get to Rob. You got some flooding in the southeast?
And as long as my Egg McMuffin still has some
That's
color
right.
with it, I don't care what they're wearing to
There you
serve
go.
it to me. Hey, swollen rivers across parts of Tennessee. Want to show you this swiftwater rescue in Lebanon, Tennessee. Eastern Tennessee seeing 4 to 6 inches of rainfall, and that gentleman had to get rescued by the fire department there. We've got more rain coming. The flood watches are posted into the Carolinas, another 4 to 6 potentially. And tomorrow, this gets up into the Northeast. A nasty day. Your local forecast is 30 seconds away. But first, your Select Cities brought to you by Dairy Queen.
So we're saving the galaxy again? Awesome!
See that? How the Guardians of the Galaxy come together to be awesome? Guys, that's teamwork. Like cookies and brownies coming together to form Brookies and this Guardians Awesome Mix Blizzard. Okay, Jen, that's enough. Star-Lord's clean.
What?
Jen, we talked about this.
The new DQ Guardians Awesome Mix Blizzard, an awesome mix of Brookie Pieces, caramel, and Choco Chunks. See Marvel Studios' Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 in theaters May 5th.
Well, we do need the rain, and now we're going to get even a lot more of it. For today, tomorrow, your chance 100%. And then even by the week's end here, a 30% chance of seeing some showers and thunderstorms. Our best chance to see the wet weather today will be between 1 and 9 p.m., but a moderate threat now until 1 o'clock and even late today with more scattered showers coming through. Now, cool for the next 2 days, near 60 degrees, but look at the late week warm up, close to 90 on Sunday. All of a sudden, I'm craving McDonald's French fries. Coming up, that confrontation